Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark for one reason and one reason only, and that is because Than Mitchell is the co-host here today. The wisdom of Winfield, the teacher from Turbitville, and the windbag from that part of the state.
Yeah, there are lots of titles that I think mostly Dave has imbued upon me or given me as a award. Many of them I rather like.
Mark Manure on this side.
Mark Manure on the other side.
On the catbird seat here. I haven't heard any complimentary remarks that rhyme with Mark, so I guess there probably aren't any of those. But very glad to be here this week. SUCKS, according to Dave. So we're just trying to set the tone accurately. Set expectations low, and then people will be able to enjoy something better than what we said it would be.
I love your earphones. I guess those came because we have HD colored TV here on our screen. What are they? Mickey Mouse? Is that what there is?
No, Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse. What is that? Is that a fine earphone maker?
Pretty famous among young people. DJ. I knew nothing about him, but my lovely bride says he makes headphones that are made for people who are kind of active and running around when they're playing music, or in my case, it's all words. But they're light, and they sound good, and they sound okay. I like them, and they have a little volume control thingamabobbler here in case the feed is too high. So
yeah, I kind of like them.
She gave them to me.
Quite colorful.
So
April, you done good, April.
She's trying to take care of me. Yes, yeah. She is. So that is the cast of characters within this room. The greatest engineer in the entire universe is on the other side of the glass. That is Kevin Herr. He's starting to get his play-by-play for basketball voice prepared. He won't be doing the Shikellamy play-by-play this year, but he will be doing basketball.
Wait, what happened to football?
He retired from football so that he can concentrate on monitoring his son's many evening activities.
The rumors of my retirement have been slightly exaggerated.
You're going to do some games?
I will be back this season. Yeah.
Oh, you are going to do it again this year?
I thought maybe you were retired because of concussions.
No, I've not been concussed in the last 30 years.
Hard to tell that.
Anyway.
You're going to do Shikellamy football?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I am going to be back for this season.
Okay, good. I was afraid you wouldn't. That was worrying me.
And when you hear the words, I'm going to be back this fall, and somebody associated with athletics says that means, wow, they're paying me far more than I'm worth finally. So that's exactly what's going to happen this fall. All right, well, good.
Jeez, I guess I should have kept my mouth shut for a few more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Think about that. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. If you need to feel good about yourself, I'm always there for you. So, yes.
Whether he means it or not. Yeah.
Some of his awards are for play-by-play at Shikellamy football.
That's why we would miss him, because though I'm not a football fan, when I hear Kevin and his crew working a football game or any game, it makes it exciting whether you like it or not.
Right. Even if it isn't an exciting game, the banter is fascinating. Yeah. So he sounds like an auctioneer sometimes. They go so fast with so much useful information. Okay, so that is Kevin Herr, and he has standing behind him right now, and his main backup when it comes to IT, Mark Mahoney's on the other side of the room as they try to get the TV aspect of this in perfect working order. And to that end, I tell you, the webcam is up and running. You simply go to WKOK.com and you can click on the Ustream banner. That pops up. You get to see a quickie message from Ustream, but that'll be over in less than 30 seconds. And then you can watch the On the Mark show live via the webcam. It also serves as a 24-hour archive right there. You don't even have to change channels. But if you'd like to see the archive of previous shows, go to YouTube. And WKOK's YouTube channel is always up and running. It's got great video stories. And you can see perp walks and fun features. You can see Sarah Bartlett canoeing. You can see me in a helicopter. It's all posted at WKOK's YouTube page.
Yeah, it's an interesting page. I sometimes go and peruse it. I find a darn good job of the newsroom around here in doing the videos and the news that comes up on YouTube.
Yeah, they do well. And it's all women, too. So nobody raises up women and makes sure that they have more opportunity to excel around here than we do. That's my observation.
Good thing.
Self-serving, of course, as they're one of their supervisors. But so the YouTube channel is up and the webcam is up, so we invite you to check it out. Kevin Herr has great video, great audio, and everything seems to be working satisfactorily today.
I have heard that we have sponsors for this program.
Well, we do. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. You know them because they're a family-owned dealership. Ben calls them Mertzies, so I guess the Mertzies are the owners, and they've been around since 1915. 4th Street, Sunbury, Route 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. They have the Quick Lane, and that's if you need your car worked on. You wonder, you see all that enormous complex. Well, where do you get your car? Where's the garage? Well, the Quick Lane. Look for the Q, the great big quick word, and you can find a place there where you have very comfortable seating. You can watch the tube, or get on the Wi-Fi, or go out and look at your next automobile while you happen to be looking. Even if you're not going to be buying that automobile for years even, go ahead and look at them. Don't kick the tires if you're not going to buy it. But
that's not, yeah.
But, yeah, and some of the tires are much smaller than they used to be. They have vehicles that get 100 miles to the gallon, so, and they have smaller tires. So the Quick Lane on North 4th Street in Sunbury, the way to go. SunburyMotors.com. Geroningerinsurance.com is a website that can help you answer a very important question. What is the question? They should have written that down.
Oh, gee, it's something like, are you sure you know where you are at this moment in the universe? Or something to do with, are you sure you're not paying too much for your insurance? Oh, okay, that one.
Yeah, the second question. The first one, I don't know if they can answer that at Groningerinsurance.com. But they will get you started in asking the question, do you know if your insurance is at the right price? Because that leads to a no-obligation second opinion. If your auto insurance happens to be insured by another company, ask them about that. Just give them a few key details, and they'll tell you that they can save you a buck, especially with Erie Insurance, and that's the best insurance in the world. Shamrock Insurance, recently purchased by Groningers. The Groninger Boys, a growing company. Talk to Paula. She's the one key woman at the place that knows everything.
I was going to say, she's not a Groninger boy. For some reason, I guessed that.
No, and she's ultra smart, and she's 100% everything she says she is, and that is a customer service representative, and she'd love to take care of you at Groninger Insurance.
And keeps the Groninger boys in line. I'll betcha.
I think so. And the Lenape Solar email in basket is open to you. That means you simply email on the Mark, as a couple of folks have done. And in many cases, we would read your email on the radio. Lenape Solar is located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. Find them on the web at lenapesolar.com. At Lenape, they invite you to harness the sun. You can turn it into electricity or heat and use it in a productive manner. And you can use it to heat a pool, or heat your home, or heat hot water, or make electricity, make that electric meter spin backwards, so to speak, and they would just love to help you out. Lenape Solar, the place to go for that.
They don't spin anymore, those electrical meters.
No,
they sit there and
click.
Throw numbers at you.
I don't think they even hum or click or do anything. It's an LED readout.
Yeah, they forgot the words.
So boring. Oh, and the other thing they can do is they can read the meter from the base of operations, wherever that is.
Yeah, we used to see the meter reader on a regular basis because circumstance of where we live. The next two places are summer cabins, and the guy would always park in our driveway and walk down to the summer cabins because it was such a nice walk. We miss him.
Yeah, they just, I don't know quite how they do it. I guess they use some low voltage electricity that travels through there that tells them how much electricity you're using. So there has been a couple of emails that have come in here, but we have an open phones a day today. We invite folks to call in. We have two emails that relate to children that, I guess for lack of a better word, have been allowed by parents, or in some cases sent by parents, to come up towards the United States through Mexico. So two emails related to that, and one relates to the school district's budget reserves that are kept by some of the local districts. So we always read emails in the order in which they arose, and that would put the email related to school district budget reserves up first.
This is a very interesting situation, and I would, after we read it, I would like to ask somebody who has some knowledge about the finances of a school, of why it is that it is true that, according to the Philly Daily News political reporter and columnist John Baer, 97% of Pennsylvania's 500 school districts have reserve fund balances accruing interest in up to 3 accounts each. Statewide total, according to current Department of Education data, is $4.27 billion. That's a couple of bucks. That amount, despite constant cries of underfunding, is $690 million more than the prior year. In 2013, they had $3.5 billion. It's more than double the total 8 years ago. There are no restrictions on its use, and districts can legally raise property taxes to get more money, no matter how much they hold in reserve. And locally, in June of 2013, let's take Lewisburg. They had $4.67 million in reserves, and they've raised taxes each year for the last 4 years. Shikellamy, $8.5 million reserve, raised taxes each year, except 2012 and 13. Selinsgrove, $7.7 million reserves, raised property taxes every year. Warrior Run, $3 million. Line Mountain, $3 million. Shamokin, $7 million. And some of them raise taxes, most of them do, a couple haven't. And what is that reserve for, Mark? You were explaining it to me, and I thought you were doing a good job. I would just love to hear somebody call in who is a financial officer or something like that. This seems like it might have a simple and understandable explanation why Lewisburg School District has over $4.5 million in reserves.
And what that means is basically they do not put it in savings accounts like you and I do, but they have accounts that are set aside for reserves, typically interest-bearing accounts, and so they overtax individuals. So they have, well, in Lewisburg's case, $4.67 million more in revenue than they need for expenses, and so they set this money aside and keep it, and then next year they raise taxes again, so the reserve fund goes up, and the next year they raise taxes again, so the reserve fund goes up. So that's where the money comes from. They basically overtax people. And then,
is it called overtaxing, or is it wise taxation? Because the next part of your explanation will say it's a good thing to have that stuff there.
Well, what they do, what a school board member would tell you if they're interested in reserves, and not all school board members agree with this, what they'll tell you is that the money is set aside in case of emergency, like if a roof caves in on a school or something, or they have some catastrophic issue that they need the money. Maybe, you know, as a lot of the districts around here have had to settle lawsuits and hire attorneys, and that's typically unbudgeted money. So you have this money set aside so that you can pay for things, and if necessary later, you go back for reimbursements from whomever might be able to help you out with those things. But in this particular case, school districts around here will say, well, we need that money because we're going to help use it to offset the borrowing that's necessary for a building project. You know, all districts have to build at some point. Talk about Lewisburg, they're getting ready to break ground on a new school. Talk about Mifflinburg, they're relatively stable, so they have no construction in the immediate future plan, but they will build someday.
And I would think that occasionally heating systems have to be replaced for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Roofs have to be replaced either by age or weather-related problems for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and air conditioning units have to be replaced, and equipment and so forth. Some of it we can't say that's going to die this year. It dies on its own, like the roof goes away or something like that.
Is there anything wrong with having $4.67 million in your savings account while you tax people? Or is there anything wrong with having, let's see, in Line Mountain's case, $3 million in reserves? See, Dan thinks that's pathetic. So Danville Area School District has $9.5 million.
Excuse me.
And actually lowered tax rates after it was clear that they were significantly overtaxing people. Shamokin Area School District, $7 million in reserve. What's wrong with having a big reserve fund?
Well, it seems to me it's a good idea, because what would you do if a catastrophe happened? Let's say a heating system goes out in a major building and it costs $500,000 to replace it. And I doubt if that's way out of line. What are you going to do if you don't have that reserve? You're going to have to borrow money, pay interest. Instead of now you're making interest on the money that's sitting there, you have to pay interest, and you have to raise taxes right away because somehow you got to pay it. So just like in your household, having a reserve fund is not a bad idea. And many financial counselors will tell you if you have a reserve fund, it's a good idea to borrow money anyway, because the interest charge is not as great because you're making money on the money that's in the bank, and you're paying an interest. The difference between the two interests is not a lot, and you end up with the money in the bank still there at the end of the period.
All right, folks, what do you think? Should a school district have overtaxed you and have millions and millions and millions of dollars in reserve just in case? Or should they tax you appropriately and then borrow a little money if they have an emergency?
Or could I say, did they appropriately tax you so that they are prepared for any emergency that might come along, many costing millions of dollars?
All right, which is right? I say districts overtax us and should keep zero reserve, and Than says, well, I'm not sure about the precise amount, but having millions in reserve is appropriate. It's almost a common business practice to have reserves, like this company has reserves.
And I have to say, and this is why I keep saying, I wish somebody who had a financial interest in the schools, as somebody who works the books in the schools, would give us a call and talk about this, because I think you and I guess at overtax, tax, and all that sort of thing. Somebody knows, and we should find out.
How do you weigh in on this? You call the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Overtaxing or appropriate savings account in case of emergency? 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. If you'd like to email us electronically with a quick message, you can email it to the Lenape Solar email in basket, and that is notes that were sent to On the Mark at WKOK.com. Is it an appropriate reserve or just overtaxing? 1-800-795-9565. You can email us at onthemark at WKOK.com.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Tom Wolfe ran millions in TV ads, but Wolfe never mentioned the fact that he used to be Pennsylvania's revenue secretary. That's a fancy way of saying the state's top tax collector. You name it, Wolfe tried to raise taxes on it. Like the state sales tax, Wolfe lobbied for a dramatic increase that would have terribly hurt our small businesses and killed jobs. And here's Wolfe talking about a new oil tax he wanted that would have hurt Pennsylvania's seniors extra hard.
It's a new tax, and it's the first time that certainly we've done this in Pennsylvania.
And here's millionaire Wolfe talking about a new electric and garbage tax he wanted.
A portion of both of those taxes would be passed on to the homeowner.
Once a tax raiser, always a tax raiser. Just recently on KDKA TV, Wolfe said as governor, he wants a massive new energy tax and will raise the personal income tax on many hardworking Pennsylvania families. Tom Wolfe. He never mentioned his time in Harrisburg trying to raise our taxes. What else is he hiding?
Paid for by Tom Corbett for governor.
Here's a bright idea. Why not use light to carry billions of bits of data per second, making network connections hundreds of times faster and much more reliable? That's just what Penn Teledata's fiber optic network does. And we've invested in over 9,000 miles throughout our communities, connecting schools, banks, healthcare networks, and even wireless towers that enable your smartphone to be, well, smart. Know what else is smart? Connecting your business to our fiber network. See the light with Penn Teledata, your recommended source of fiber.
Would you trust a blocked artery to a plumber? Then why trust the health of your network to outdated technology? Connect at the speed of light with Penteledata's state-of-the-art true fiber optic network, offering the smartest, most reliable data connections to keep operations running stronger than ever before. That's why more doctors and business professionals trust their company to Penteledata. When choosing a provider, get a second opinion. You'll be glad you did. Penteledata, your recommended source of fiber.
Back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark.
I thought you were going to sing there for a moment.
He did sound a little bit like Mark Knopfler for a second.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I bet he doesn't play the guitar like Marco, though.
I don't think so.
No. What does he do? Working class song?
Well, Dire Straits.
Right. I know who he is. But,
okay.
I saw him once at a theater, a small theater in Philadelphia. The name's not going to pop into my head for a while. But
is it the Man?
No, not at the Mann Center. But
well, anyway, one of the songs was Sailing to Philadelphia was one of his solo efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
with James Taylor.
I think he is a extremely talented musician. In fact, the Dire Straits album is one that I like almost everything on it, I think.
Mark Knopfler, right? 1-800-795-9565. We're talking education. Specifically, is it appropriate for a school district to set aside $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million? Now, keep in mind, they're raising taxes in most of those years. So is it appropriate to keep raising taxes higher and higher and higher and higher on the property tax payers locally and the other taxpayers in the district, all the while continuing to build up a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger bloated reserve fund?
How about an appropriate reserve fund? See, I don't know, and you're guessing bloated. I'm guessing it might be appropriate. Both of us are guessing. I do hear from a lot of the conservatives that school districts should be run like businesses. I have no idea how anybody thinks that something like a school district that has so many diverse outcomes can be run like a business, but let's assume it can. Businesses have reserve funds in case their furnaces go bad, that they want to buy a new parking lot beside their place. Any number of reasons good businesses have reserve funds so they don't get into problems when things go south.
But on the other hand, they aren't businesses, so they're not extracting money from normal paying customers who voluntarily go in and say, okay, I like your product and you're doing a good job and I love your service and you guys are the widget equivalent of the Sunbury Motor Company or something. They take it and they extort it from property taxpayers saying, you know, you don't really own your property and here's the proof, here's the penalty for you making that bad decision. We're going to raise your taxes, raise your taxes, raise your taxes, and until the point that, you know, taxes far exceed available revenue. One of those districts has $9 million in reserves. It does seem extravagant. On the other hand, are they going to build a new school, and will that take care of some of the problem without having to borrow money? Or will they keep that in reserve as they build the new school and raise the taxes? I don't know. They'll keep it in reserve and raise the taxes. Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility, depending upon what the reserve is for. And my guess is it's, as you said, for emergencies. $9 million seems like an awful lot, but I don't run a school district. And, yeah, I agree with you. A school district can't be a business, so it's got to be run like a school district. And some tax rates have gone down in the Danville area school district, we're reminded.
Yeah, the only problem is that that's also gone up in the last year, too.
They've gone up and down.
Yeah.
I see.
Yes. In 2013, they did go down slightly, but they've gone back up again from in the last year because they're looking at a deficit as well in the new budget and decided to raise taxes instead of taking it from the reserve.
I think that makes, in my estimation, it makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is the way we fund schools. That's through the homeowners' taxes and all that sort of thing. Well, that may not be the way to fund schools. In fact, I think it's not. But that's not the discussion here. It's why we have these reserves, and I suspect it's for a good reason. It's certainly wide open in the open, and if it wasn't for a good reason, there would be outcries up and down the East Coast and throughout the nation that this is not appropriate. Actually, it's Pennsylvania's problem.
As a matter of fact, in that June meeting, Montour County taxpayers saw an increase of 36% in their $36 in their property tax. Northumberland County residents will see a decrease of $9, but that's to balance out the difference between the two counties that the district serves, because Northumberland County taxpayers were paying more in the same district.
Riverside, right? Across the river from Danville
Yes.
is in the Danville School District. I guess is Rush Township maybe also in the school district, which goes all the way to Snydertown.
And see, that has a lot to do with the assessed values, because Northumberland County hasn't assessed property values for quite some time, according to the Danville Area School District business manager, and Montour County seems to be regularly now.
Oh, my.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. Ultra-speedy dialers to get through at this point. During the 9 o'clock hour, we'll talk about the influx of children coming to the U.S.-Mexico border, coming into the U.S. 3 emails relate to that particular topic.
I was also looking at the situation in Northumberland County again, a county that keeps, I'm sure if comedians saw it, they'd have a lot of fun with it.
Letterman.
Yeah, Jon Stewart would have a ball with it, as would Stephen Colbert. But unfortunately, you have to live in the county, and it's not so funny when a poor person committed suicide and wasn't watched carefully for one reason or another without me assessing any blame. They're supposed to be watched very carefully. There should be no way that they would be alone to commit suicide, and a widow is suing for a fair amount of money, and I'm afraid I don't blame her.
Well, thank you very much. The Groninger Insurance toll-free line will be the line to call to react to that remark and the observation and the conversation that hopefully will follow. That's the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Lenape Solar email in basket is on the mark at WKOK.com. Quick break for CBS News. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company. And what is this? It's On the Mark, the WKOK Live telephone talk show. Kevin Hurd, the greatest engineer in the world. Than Mitchell, Mark Lawrence. We'll be back at 9:06 a.m. This is WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News. I'm Steve Futterman at Eindhoven Airport. The bodies of those killed in last week's Malaysian airline tragedy are in the air right now on board 2 military transport planes heading towards the city south of Amsterdam. In around an hour, the planes are scheduled to touch down. 2/3 of the 298 people killed were Dutch. This woman says bringing the bodies back to Dutch soil will bring some closure.
It's a very important day for the people here.
The King and Queen of the Netherlands will be here when the planes arrive. There will be a moment of silence. Today has been declared a national day of mourning. I'm Steve Futterman at Eindhoven Airport. Now with more on the story, here's Frank Sedapani.
There's breaking news from Ukraine about the downing of 2 Ukrainian military planes. CBS's Cami McCormick has that from Kiev.
A Ukrainian Defense Ministry spokesman says the 2 Ukrainian jets were shot down in eastern Ukraine, close to the Russian border. Initially, he said it was believed the pilots ejected, though it isn't clear if they've been recovered. Fierce fighting has been raging in eastern Ukraine all week, some of it preventing international inspectors from getting to the Malaysian Airlines crash scene. Ukraine just yesterday called up more military reservists.
A Gaza ceasefire is still more hope than reality, but Secretary of State Kerry says his meetings today in Israel have made progress.
We have certainly made some steps forward. There's still work to be done.
No one in Gaza would doubt that. CBS's Barry Peterson tells us Israeli forces are on the attack again, targeting the tunnels Hamas can use to sneak fighters and weapons across the border with Israel.
Israelis hit a series of what look like huts. They may have been entrances to tunnels. They stitched through 3-4 explosions, then one big one. And a few moments later, secondary explosions. It rattled where we were. You can actually feel the building shake.
There's no word on whether the FAA will extend a 24-hour ban on flights to Tel Aviv, but Delta and some European airlines are extending the suspension. A Hamas rocket blew up yesterday near the Tel Aviv airport. Getting a health insurance subsidy is easy, maybe too easy. Live to CBS's Barry Bagnatto.
The GAO Congress's investigative wing created fictitious secret shoppers to apply for Obamacare subsidies. In 11 out of 12 cases, they obtained policies with tax credits worth $30,000 a year. Supporting documents were requested for all the approved applications, but fake Social Security numbers and proof of income and citizenship weren't authenticated, and to this day, the policies remain in effect. The report is the subject of a House hearing this morning. Frank?
The refloated Costa Concordia has started its final voyage, traveling from the waters off Tuscany to a scrap yard in Genoa. 32 people died when the ship ran aground 2 years ago. In the 30 years he's owned the Denver Broncos, Pat Boland's teams have played in 6 Super Bowls and won 2.
This one's for John.
At 70 now and fighting Alzheimer's disease, the iconic owner will give up day-to-day control of the team. S&P futures are up 4 points. This is CBS News.
The service experts at your Ford dealer know you'll likely be hitting the road this summer. So get the works. It's a synthetic blend oil change, tire rotation, brake inspection, and more, designed to keep your Ford running right.
Right now, get the works for $39.95 or less minus a $10 mail-in rebate, making it just $29.95. Only at your Ford dealer. Up to 5 quarts oil, taxes, diesel, and disposal fees extra. Rebate by prepaid debit card. See participating Ford dealer for rebate details through 8/31/14.
Hi, this is Dennis Miller. Memory loss is about more than forgetting where you left your car keys. It's real, and it happens more and more as we age. Researchers have discovered a protein in jellyfish that can help supplement those brain support proteins we lose naturally as we age. And you'll find it in Prevagen, an over-the-counter supplement that's been clinically tested to improve memory. Support your brain with Prevagen, the best-selling memory product on the market. No prescription necessary, available at Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS.
A strong serve and a good backhand can help your tennis game, but don't scoff at the value of a good grunt. CBS's Larry Miller has the story.
Top tennis grunter Maria Sharapova hits more than 100 decibels on court, the level of noise made by a chainsaw. While grunting and wailing are seen as a way tennis players try to distract or psych out opponents, a University of Nebraska study says grunters send the ball significantly faster. Scientists found the forced expiration of air makes the upper body more stable, which in turn increases the transfer of power from the body to the arm. The study also found grunters are more likely to be winners. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
A government study in this country found that a third of all youngsters don't have an accurate idea of their own weight, and many obese children see themselves as normal. Obese youngsters face a higher risk of diabetes and other serious health problems later in life. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Time. It's best found on the weekends and lost in the garage, under the hood, cranking on something. AdvanceAutoParts.com lets you get back to the garage with more time to do what you love. Just buy online and pick up in store 30 minutes later. Plus, order 4 NGK Iridium spark plugs and we'll give you a $10 advance gift card by mail. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Mail-in rebate, void where prohibited. See AdvanceAutoParts.com for details.
This is Charles Osgood. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to AutoOwners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, a subhuman mongrel host of the show. Self-deprecating.
Who was it that called President Obama a subhuman mongrel? I remember that was part of one of the screes that happened, and I thought, oh my goodness.
It's Ted Nugent. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, it was Ted Nugent. Yes. Well, of course, one of the great American philosophers.
Of all time.
Oh my goodness.
Cat scratch fever.
And, just because he's a good singer doesn't mean much about the rest of him. Mm-hmm. And I know you just love his music. And you shouldn't judge.
Oh, I like it, okay.
I Cat Scratch Fever, a great song. But the philosophy behind the man really upsets me. He doesn't want me to live here. And I don't care that he lives here. I wish he'd shut up.
Yeah, the funny thing is, as a hunter, he teaches and espouses and really, really raises up animals with such tremendous respect, even though you harvest them, but make sure you make good use of them and so on. So he's all about respect of animals, but if you're a human who disagrees with him, you're a subhuman mongrel, you know, you're the worst kind of individual in the world. All right, so that is the Ted Nugent conversation, one and done. We talked about Mark Knopfler earlier today. I finally remember the name of the Tower Theater in Philadelphia, where we had seen them. And that was right when, I forget the name of the album, but Industrial Disease was the song. That was almost like a rap-oriented song that came out, and very, of course, great guitar work, as you would expect. And had the famous line in it, two men say they're Jesus, one of them must be wrong. So, I'm talking about a street corner where people kind of hang out. So our webcam is up and running. If you'd like to see the aimless folks that are actually in the studio, just go to WKOK.com, click on the Ustream channel, and you can watch our program. If you'd like to see the archive, go to the YouTube channel after the show, and that's after the show, and then you can watch the archive version of our webcam broadcast that's underway right now. The webcam is up and running.
And you should subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to WKOK.com and clicking on our link.
Right, and where it says subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Is that how you do it?
The wording.
Okay, us old people, we need some help with that.
Right,
you know?
subscribe to, and then when you do it, that's it. Just clicking there is sufficient. You don't have to do anything additional.
I don't have to pay any money?
No.
Don't have to give them my Social Security number?
No, but you can give me some money instead. That would be fine.
Kevin your Social Security number, and I promise he will make good use of it.
Okay, I think I do, Kevin, in one way or another.
So just put it on the call screen here so everybody can log in and look at it.
Okay.
On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunray Motor Company, a family-owned dealership since 1915. 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Hummelsworth. Find out lots more about them at sunburymotors.com. You can find out about their online specials. There's ways that you can save a lot of money on a vehicle just by going to sunburymotors.com, and that's the only way to do it. They don't publish it in the newspaper. They don't put it on our radio ads. It's only at sunburymotors.com, and they invite you to find out a way that you can save a buck by going digitally. The Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You email on the mark at WKOK.com, and in many cases, as we're about to do, we read your emails on the radio. Lenape is located at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury. Find them on the web at lenapesolar.com. Call them telephonically, 286-1496. Visit them on 2nd Street. They got a solar array display set up for you so you can see the HVAC system, the ductless heating and cooling systems. You can also see a glimpse of the commercial lighting product that they have, and you can also see solar panels, some that generate electricity, much smaller than they used to be. Not such a big event to have a solar panel on your home somewhere. And they also have some that generate hot water, so that you can use it to transfer heat to something else, maybe a domestic hot water situation, whatever it happens to be. LenapeSolar.com. And the Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open, 1-800-795-9565. We have open phones for the next 90 minutes. We'd love you, or the next hour, we'd love you to use that telephone number, 1-800-795-9565. We've been talking about education. Local districts have $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million in reserve funds set aside because they've horrendously overtaxed people, or is it just an appropriate savings account for future projects? That's our conversation. We have 2 emails that relate to that. We'll read those after the news headlines. The Borough of Northumberland has received more than $13 million in a Penvest loan to build the new sewage treatment plant. The goal, reduce the number of combined sewage overflows that discharge raw sewage into the Susquehanna River during heavy rains. The bidding process is underway for Northumberland's much talked about sewage treatment plant. 3 of Pennsylvania's Republican members of Congress who visited a home for troubled children say they now support a spending bill that would deal with immigrant children coming to the U.S. who have overwhelmed the border facilities. U.S. Representatives Jim Gerlach, Charlie Dent, and Patrick Meehan Tuesday both said they've had a slight change of heart after they visited the Berks County Bethany Children's Home, which has been sheltering some of the children. Several hundred more will soon be coming to Pennsylvania, and they say they would support a more modest plan than the $3.7 billion sought by the president to help federal agencies deal with the influx of child immigrants entering the U.S. illegally from Central America. Meantime, the United Methodist Home for Children in suburban Harrisburg says it is receiving its federal grant from Health and Human Services to care for some of the children. Holy Family Institute in suburban Pittsburgh plans to shelter up to 36 children as the federal dollars flow into Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, creating jobs and construction opportunities and caregiver jobs for these nonprofit organizations who have volunteered to help take care of some of the children immigrants.
Let me get this clear now. 3 congressmen who were kind of against helping these children actually saw the children and said, "Oh my God, they're children!" And now they feel that maybe they can help them. I wonder if maybe other people should think about the fact that these children are children.
I think Charlie Dent says you look in their eyes and you realize that they're not political footballs.
No, and they're not terrorists, and they're not drug runners. They're very, very troubled children from very, very troubled countries.
Right, and yeah, so we can talk about that a little bit. We have some emails related to that, so we'll talk about this issue as our hour progresses here. Newly released records show that the oil and gas extraction industry has damaged Pennsylvania water supplies more than 200 times since 2007. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reports the information Tuesday based on a Department of Environmental Protection spreadsheet that it obtained through a right-to-know law request. The spreadsheet lists 209 water supplies by county, municipality, and the date that DEP regulators determined that activities related to gas or oil extraction contaminated or diminished the flow of a water source. It does not identify the companies nor the nature of the harm. It was released on the same day that the Auditor General Eugene D. Pasquale released an audit challenging that the DEP has failed to adequately monitor well safety or provide clear and timely information to citizens about natural gas and drilling. That compendium, incidentally, is available online, and it is a very interesting read. It has the pluses of the natural gas industry, the minuses, and really 20 very critical unanswered questions, including what's going to happen in the hundreds of years to come.
And it exposes the natural gas energy to a couple of problems, and one being a very bad regulation from the state, and that is a huge problem. Plus, there are people who are dumping stuff where they're not supposed to. Somebody just got caught doing that recently. And those are just the ones that got caught.
All right, and finally, Pennsylvania's highest court says a murder-suicide that took place in a home is not a material defect that the home seller has to disclose to the buyer. The state Supreme Court ruled unanimously Tuesday in the case of an urban Philadelphia property that was sold in 2007 for $610,000 to someone who didn't know it had been the scene of a grisly murder-suicide a year earlier. The majority says that there would be widespread implications to determining what a psychological stigma could be to a home. Could it be the basis of a claim of fraud or negligent misrepresentation? The Supreme Court in Harrisburg says no. The justices say the occurrence of a tragedy inside a home does not affect the actual quality of the real estate. They write that if anyone's going to make such disclosure mandatory, it will have to be the state legislature after carefully considering that particular issue.
Yeah, and a lot of people live in very, very old houses built in the 17 and 1800s, and one could guess that were you to find the full history of any of those old houses, that there might be some, certainly there would be deaths, because most people died at home. Certainly there, in many cases, would be terrible circumstances like murders and child molesting and so forth. You couldn't tell all those things, and your house doesn't know about it. It's a house.
Sometimes not knowing is more bliss.
Right.
Yes, is more bliss.
And then you can just more blissful.
More. I was going to say, is more blissful correct? I don't know. I was not. I was not an English scholar.
Blissfuller.
It's blissfuller.
It makes me happy.
That was the famed English dirigible that helped the U.S. during World War II, the blissfuller.
We do have an email here having to do with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and oddly enough, this computer apparently has no punctuation. If I were to read it the way it's typed, he's missed
it's all one sentence.
Yeah, he missed a period there someplace.
So 3 paragraphs worth in one sentence. Okay.
Whenever you have a surplus or reserve, it is easier for hundreds of thousands of dollars to disappear for personal usage and have it go unnoticed, whereas with small amounts it can be detected more easily, and district takes out insurance to cover most repairs. So the next time you hear of someone taking money from the reserves, just think about it as being taken from the taxpayer's piggy bank with no intention of paying it back. From the one who answers questions, who asks questions without answers. I doubt if you can steal anything from a school district on a regular basis. I doubt if I imagine it's so carefully audited that unless somebody is awfully good, they don't get away with it, and generally they don't get away with it for long.
I don't know if it is true for somebody that's involved in theft to steal more if there's a huge reserve or if they keep a tight budget. But I can tell you this, most of the big thefts that have occurred around here happen to places that have a tight budget, that don't have a big reserve fund. You know, thefts from school district very uncommon, but thefts from municipal authorities or boroughs are more common, and they have a very tight budget and very little reserve.
And fire companies and so forth also.
Right, and so the thefts are small, and the small is hidden among other expenses, and so therefore they kind of get away with it. So I understand where the letter writer's coming from, and I can appreciate that.
Do either of you know, is there insurance for, like, regular repairs? Like,
I don't know. There's an awful lot we don't know here, and we've been speculating on, and that always bothers me. Starts sounding like Fox News. Oh, we don't understand anything, so let's make it up.
I mean,
death panels, yes.
I mean, you have insurance for, you know, like natural disasters or, you know, things of that nature, but regular repairs, I don't.
No, I don't think I have insurance for that.
If that were the case, I want some of that for my house.
Well, it's probably expensive.
We have an email from my wife, and we're going to have problems when I get home.
Oh, okay. Why, is she going to bonk you on the head?
Yeah, I think she's going to bonk me. Are you guys getting desperate for phone calls? You're both guessing as to what reserve is. Perhaps you get an actual definition. Well, yeah, we were looking for that. I'd still like that. P.S. Now, here's the problem. I agree with Ben from a previous show that schools are or should be run as businesses with the success of the students as a product. I also think schools are also employment for adults, and that is part of the equation, or should be. And that's from Margaret. Thank you.
Your lovely bride.
Yeah. I disagree about the business thing, but that's semantics. Everybody, including Ben and my wife, wants the student to come out at the end with a good education.
I just think the part of the beginning that says, I am Dan Mitchell's wife and I agree with Ben, period.
Yeah.
That alone is going to the, we'll put that in the Smithsonian. We're going to highlight that and send it there.
I'm going to send that up with some of Kevin's trophies.
I'm going to throw that up. Every time you and I are arguing, Than, I'm going to throw that up. Margaret agrees with Ben, so she probably agrees with me, too. Okay. All right, 1-800-795-9565 is our open phone. We have 3 emails, two of which are short and one of which involves a lengthier read, that relate to children flowing into the U.S. From the U.S.-Mexico border. So we're going to read those, and we will take a quick break right now. Just stay right on schedule with our commercial announcements. So we will do that, and when we return, then 3 emails are pending. And we have open phones right now. We're about to talk about the U.S.-Mexico border. So if you want to weigh on this without even having a question or the emails read, do so now. Call the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. That is 1-800-795-9565, and that is operated by John Groninger. Not Groninger, but John Groninger.
Oh.
And you were all set to make fun. And the Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You simply email on the market about WKOK.com, and we'll put your message on the radio. And as always, our main sponsor of On the Mark is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
Now is the time to go to your Kubota dealer and get a brand new Kubota M-Series tractor during Kubota's Gear Up and Go sales event. If you're thinking about a rugged utility tractor and the year-round comfort of a Grand X-Cab, then a new Kubota has your name on it. With a smooth-running diesel engine and IntelliShift transmission, your Kubota dealer is the place to start. Right now, get your own Kubota M-Series tractor for 0 down and 0% financing for up to 60 months. So for a great deal, think orange at the Kubota Gear Up and Go sales event. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to Kubota.com.
0 down, 0% APR financing for terms up to 60 months on selected equipment now through September 30th, 2014. Not available for rental national accounts or government customers. 0% APR low rate financing not available with instant rebate offers. Financing available through Kubota Credit Corporation USA subject to credit approval. Other exceptions may apply. For more information, call toll-free 1-888-465-8268.
Philadelphia.
Wow.
A world away from the cold time. Sailing to Philadelphia to draw.
If you let this play out much more, we're going to have to pay royalties to Mark Knopfler. You know that.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the guitar riff. He is an above-average singer, but he is a superlative guitarist. Yeah, I could just listen to this album all day long. The whole album is like that.
He plays. I know a guy by the name of Tim Breon who plays guitar in Williamsport, and a friend of mine and I always comment that it sounds like he was born with a guitar in his hands, and it's as easy for him to play the guitar as it is for him to cough or sneeze or talk. And that's what Knopfler reminds me of.
Mark Knopfler.
Oh, yeah. I always think they should look like they're working harder.
Yeah, we can't play the whole song. We'll have to play ASCAP and BMI royalties, which we always check off no on the box that we don't play those. 1-800-795-9565, the open phone. We started out talking about these massive overtaxed reserve funds that school districts use to stick it to the taxpayers. Can I help you, sir? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, do I get my chance? Hi, Cindy. How are you this morning?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm getting my exercise moving mulch and dirt. It's free to move the, by the way, everyone who joins one of these fitness clubs, I just want you to know you can move dirt for free.
In the garden,
but
you mean?
Let's consider these reserve funds, given some important facts. These reserves grew as the school districts complained bitterly that they were underfunded. Well, if you're underfunded, aren't you using that money to keep your classrooms functioning? I guess not. You're claiming you're underfunded, but you're putting this money in the bank. So don't say that you're underfunded by the state and amass a big reserve. That's contradictory to me. The reserves come from somewhere. Where do these school district reserves come from? Well, they come from minimum wage workers' paychecks. They come from single-parent families struggling to get by. They come from retired people or people who live on a low single income. They come from disabled working people trying to get by. It isn't, I think the mistake in thinking about this and where this discussion often goes is the false belief that the people who are giving into this excess have it to spare. Last night on Frontline, they showed a program about poverty in children in America, and it was just heart-wrenching. One child, they interviewed her, she said she worried about starving to death. We take this money. We know that there are hungry children, and yet we take this money from their families and stick it in the bank to earn interest and just in case the sky falls, and then try to ignore, but for some people, the plight of these children. I think we need to ask I believe there is a limit. There is a limit to how much, and my school district has tramped wholly past it. I think over $7 million in reserve is just really unfair to the taxpayers, and it's just ridiculous.
Okay.
Just ridiculous.
Thank you very much, Cindy. I appreciate your opinion. You being on the school board, though, isn't it a good idea to have something in reserve in case the furnace fails?
I agree. So let's pretend a furnace costs, as you suggested, $500,000 to repair.
I have no idea, of course.
$500,000. Well, actually, it's, as I recall, ours was about $750 to fix the air conditioning system in one of the buildings. So let's go with that. Tell you what, I'll spot you $1 million. Now let's pretend the roof needs fixed. Well, one of our schools is getting their roof fixed, and when I was there, we were paying for roof repairs, and it's between $500,000 and $650,000, $700,000 based on the amount of roof space you have, footage, right? So again, I'm going to spot you $1 million for that. And how much is that now? $2 million. $2 million really ought to cover most catastrophes that could happen in terms of that. Do school districts need to be on top of repairs? Sure, and they have what's called a capital fund, and they put money every year in the capital fund to do projects around the district. But what we're talking about, I think Mark characterized well. We're saying to poor folks and senior citizens on fixed incomes, to the unemployed who can't yet find a job, we think that our use of that money is more important and more valuable than yours. We're going to take it. But once we get it, we're not actually going to use it. We're just going to stick it in the bank.
Don't most of the taxes for schools come from the homeowners, people that actually own their houses?
Every school district in Pennsylvania charges an earned income tax. I've talked about this over and over again. Certainly the districts around here do. So every working person, and on top of property tax, is paying this earned income tax against their wages. There is no special exemption no matter how much or little you earn. The only exemption being that if you have pension income or Social Security income, that income does not get taxed. That would only if you earn it, if you earn the money.
And if you're unemployed, you don't pay it.
You pay property taxes. Many
if you own
people
property,
are in
yes.
their homes. And here they are, living on maybe two-thirds, if they still get unemployment, of their previous income, trying to feed their kids and keep their car running, despite the governor raising the taxes and the legislature, let's be fair, raising the taxes on owning a vehicle. And that became an issue last night in the show with this family. The father got laid off. The car was a disaster, and they ended up losing their home. They put their stuff in storage, couldn't even pay that $70 a month storage bill, lost all their stuff, ended up living in a hotel room. And this is happening around us. And for school districts to raise taxes again and again and amass this money, not in classrooms. Let me be clear. It's not being put in classrooms. It's not fixing furnaces. It's not roofing. It is sitting in a bank. And then come back next year and say, not only will we raise your taxes the rate of inflation, but also to the maximum of the index to collect up this money. And again, the majority of it goes where? Into a class? No. Buys books? No.
Okay.
Right into the bank.
I think you've made your point, Cindy. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, we got you. Yeah, thank you so much for weighing in on that. Very much appreciated. Here we're talking about $9 million in reserves for some school districts and less in others. But again, this is overtaxing property taxpayers, literally. I mean, I'm using it as a disparaging adjective, but it is literally overtaxing. So they tax far more than they need the revenue, and then they have the reserves set aside for this. Is that appropriate? Last call for opinions on this. We'll take another quickie break, and when we return, what we're going to do is read some emails that relate to kids crossing over the U.S.-Mexico border. So we'd love you to weigh in on this. Kevin, are you ready? We're going to take another quick break, and when we return, we will read the letters that relate to folks coming from the U.S. We have open phones right now, 1-800-795-9565. You can email us at onthemark@WKOK.com.
Who says Dr. Jenkins ought to be your dentist? Your friends and neighbors who go to Dr. Jenkins.
We love everything about this place. I don't ever want to go to anyone else. My husband and I like it so much here that we have recommended this office to several of our friends, and they have nothing but praise for this office.
I've already recommended Dr. Jenkins' office to many different people. People I didn't even know have come up to me and asked me about my smile.
I go to Dr. Jenkins. I recommend him very highly.
I've had friends ask me about our dentist, and I've referred them to Dr. Jenkins, and they are very thankful that they found him as a dentist.
If anybody was looking for a place to go, I would definitely recommend coming to Dr. Jenkins.
I'd recommend Dr. Jenkins' office because of the great work that he does. I tell my coworkers, go to Dr. Jenkins, it's a great place to come.
24 years of dentistry. Dr. Carl Jenkins in Watsontown. Visit us at smilesbyjenkins.com.
Do you have unfiled tax returns or owe the IRS or state more than $10,000? If you don't take action now, your tax problem is only going to get worse. Seizure of property, bank levies, wage garnishments, and potential criminal prosecution. Call the experts at U.S. Tax Shield for help at 1-800-334-5070. Our tax advisors will review your case for free, inform you of your rights, and give you a guaranteed quote. And we have an A-plus rating with the BBB, so get protected. Call U.S. Tax Shield now at 1-800-334-5070.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? You know your business. With Wix.com, you can create a professional website all by yourself. It's easy and free. With Wix.com, you don't need to be a programmer. Just use the intuitive drag-and-drop website builder. There's no limit to how creative you can be. It's your website, your style. Show the world what you can do. Create your own stunning website today. Go to Wix.com. It's easy and free.
Why should you buy an RV from Susquehanna Valley RV?
Yeah, why?
Let's start with the biggest inventory of new and pre-owned RVs in the Susquehanna Valley, with 2 locations, Route 522 Selinsgrove and Route 11 in Bloomsburg.
I like the way they treat customers in Susquehanna Valley RV, and 31 years in the business, they know RVs inside and out, because they're campers themselves.
Then something some people miss, service. To enjoy the RV for many years, let the experienced and certified technicians at Susquehanna Valley RV take care of your investment.
What is going on at the Selinsgrove location? Looks like a lot of construction.
To serve their customers better, Susquehanna Valley RV is adding 2 more bays to the service department, and that's taking care of the customer.
I sure do see a lot of nice pre-owned RVs.
Susquehanna Valley RV right now has over 200 quality safety check pre-enjoyed RVs at must-go prices. They really do mean go. They sold so many new RVs, they have an abundance of quality pre-enjoyed RVs.
Susquehanna Valley RV, Route 522 Selinsgrove and Route 11 Bloomsburg, a camper's best friend.
With the Sultan Oxford.
Welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Dire Straits lead guitarist Mark Knopfler just making those guitar chords sing, baby. He can really do it. So, yeah, that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier today. On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915. Groninger Insurance sponsors the toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar sponsors the email in basket. So we invite you to email us at onthemark@WKOK.com. Kevin Herr brings you the webcam. He zooms in and focuses and puts important commercial messages up there, and the chroma key that explains what the important words are that you're hearing. He is the greatest producer the world has ever known. I am Mark Lawrence, subhuman mongrel host of the show, and across from me is a man who has a much better stature in the world called retired Than Mitchell is here.
I'm not sure.
The wisdom of
the meathead from Winfield, or the whatever it might be, the windbag from Winfield. That's not such a good title either, but I've known you since you were about 10 years old, Mark, and you've never been that sniveling person, subhuman that you claim. I'm sorry you can't make it. You've been a pretty good guy.
My self-esteem is low today. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that must be, because you're a pretty good guy, really.
Kevin asked the question, can I not live in a place where maintenance has an insurance policy? And one of our listeners sends us a note, says yes, it's called renting.
Oh.
There you go. Simple enough.
You don't get your equity, but you pay a little less in your monthly payments, and they take care of the expenses and the maintenance for
Well,
you.
you know what Dave Ramsey says?
What's that?
Dave Ramsey says when you factor everything out, a lot of times renting is less expensive.
Oh, that's the way I lived until I was about 40. That's when I bought my first home, because I happened to have landlords and properties that were rental properties that I was making use of that were fantastic bargains and wonderful places to live.
I always like to own, because you're gaining equity as you're paying in a certain amount of money every month. You're gaining, unless you live along the river where suddenly the insurance is $17,500, that's $17,500 a year, and your house is worthless. Now that kind of takes away our investment. Thank you very much, Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that has happened to 44% of Lewisburg. And 100% of Margaret and I.
40% of Lewisburg?
They're in the flood zone.
Oh, I see.
And their flood insurance is going to go, if nobody does anything about it, and I can't see our Congress doing anything about anything except voting to go home, if we don't do something about it and get FEMA on the ball and insurance companies, 44% of Lewisburg is going to be in terribly dire straits. And I'm sure it's true in Bloomsburg and Danville and Sunbury and Selinsgrove, where anybody's in the flood zone, suddenly flood insurance is skyrocketing. A lot of it because of Hurricane Sandy and Katrina. Those two broke FEMA.
Do we need flood control projects?
I don't know about that.
No, that works so well in Danville.
I think what they need to do, and for instance, in the case of Margaret and I, if the insurance company would just pay to raise our house up 12 feet. Now, that's an expense. But
30
the last
grand, 40 grand?
80 grand. Actually, the flood insurance is going to go so high that it makes that seem reasonable, even though the whole house isn't going to be worth a whole lot more than that. It's a beautiful location, but the house isn't going to be worth a whole lot more than we have to invest in it when we're finished. Lewisburg is full of houses like that, as is Selinsgrove and all of the river communities. We are in terrible shape.
All right, we have one item from the WKOK newsroom. This just reported 51 people killed in a crash in Taiwan, a plane crash in Taiwan. So you're going to hear lots more about that on the CBS News coming up. So, yeah, boy, tough week for aviation.
Yeah, tough week for aviation all the way around, and tough week for kids. I was listening the last couple of days about the children coming to the border and the lack of understanding. And, Joe, you really don't understand, I am sure, because these people aren't coming here because they're drug dealers or because they're bad people. They're not criminals. They mostly are under 20 years old, many of them much younger than that, and they're coming here for refuge, because things are happening in their country. And when somebody says send them back, where are the people who care about the laws? We have laws that said we can't just send them back. And I hear people like Joe saying, I don't care about a law. That doesn't mean anything to me. Just send them back. They're children. Joe, you're wrong on this, I'm sure.
All right, emails that we've received. One says, I think Joe has defined religion. How much does it cost? I remember Jesus mentioning the price tag.
Yeah, if you're going to be good, you got to find out how much it's going to cost to do it.
All right. Another listener sends us a note. This appears to be a quote. I'm not sure if it is a... they wrote it or someone else did it, but it says the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008, signed into law by President George W. Bush, directs the U.S. to protect unaccompanied minors and give them due process and sanctuary.
So to follow the law of the land, as I hear the damn right-wingers talking about all the time, we have to take care of the children. If we didn't have to, I think we should anyway, since they're kids, but we have to take care of the children by law. You can't just break the law because you're frightened, and I know that's what it is. It's frightened because we're worried about disease, we're worried about drugs, we're worried about security. Let's worry about children. Much more productive thing to worry about, and we wouldn't have to be frightened of children.
Another note says the misinformation about unaccompanied minors is staggering. News of the surge of 60,000 unaccompanied minors since last fall makes people think that border crossings are up. In fact, border crossings are down, way down. Border crossings in the 80s and 90s were over 1.5 million. For example, U.S. border apprehensions in 2000 were 1.6 million. Then in 2008, just 723,000. In 2009, 556,000. And then in 2013, down farther to 420,000. There is an influx of up to 90,000 children expected this year. By the time the year ends, they'll have expected to receive 90,000 more children than in previous years. And this person is driven by faith. It says, while unaccompanied minors are not accessible for their protection, this is goes on to some other details about this.
The piece is very long and very, very interesting. But what it says is, learn about this. And remember, you read a story about 3 congressmen who were pretty much vehemently against helping the kids till they looked and said, oh, they're children. I met them eye to eye, and I looked them in the eye. Now I care. I think a lot more people should look a kid in the eye and say, really? We can kick you out of our country against our own country's laws, and then we're going to teach the world that this is our moral compass. We take care of children when they're certain children, and we say, forget it, children, if they're not. And that's a bad thing in this country.
Should we have a tighter border?
I don't know. That's something that certainly can be talked to. It certainly is much tighter than it used to be. A lot less people are coming across. In spite of all, I mean, you just saw those numbers. A lot less
people get deported.
A lot more people, and then you hear, well, you got to look at who's deported. I'm sorry, a lot more people are being deported. And we can deport people to Canada. We can just turn them right around and send them back. And we can turn them around from Mexico and turn them back. But any country that doesn't border on the United States, we have laws on how to take care of them. And I'm tired of you right-wingers, Mark, telling me that you got to follow the law, or except these few that I don't like.
I have a quick question, though. Is it oversimplification by saying can't they just come into the country legally?
Well, that wouldn't work for these kids. They don't have standing to seek asylum in the U.S. You can't just send a kid to the U.S.
Well, they are, and yes,
illegally.
Yeah, well, undocumented, but for a good reason. Asylum. And asylum is something that we give.
Asylum from what in this case? Because I don't know. I'm asking.
Asylum is something that you do receive here. It's not something you flee from.
Right, but you're getting asylum based on what?
The
persecution of what? I don't know. I'm asking.
Well, there is good. David's on the phone here, but there is a very good story I was reading this morning online. Had to do with the fact that a kid was beaten almost to death because he wouldn't join a gang, and I think it might have been in Guatemala. I'm not sure. And then they kind of forgot about him because he was sick and almost dead. He recovered, and they came after him again. His mother gave him $50 and said, run to the United States. Wouldn't you do the same for Daniel if he was being threatened with death for the second time?
I think I'd move.
Well, if you
I think
could.
I'd move my whole family.
If you could.
Kevin will give him $30. David, you're on the mark.
Hi, David.
Howdy. I keep thinking back to 1939, when thousands and thousands of Jews were wanting to flee Europe. And countries like us and other countries, there was still the Depression, the shortage of jobs. So for the most part, we closed our borders to most of them. Also, I'm kind of reminded that during World War II, we promised Filipinos, if they fought against the Japanese and with us, certainly some of the key fighters that worked with us and that sort of thing, we'd give them citizenship and a bonus, and we kind of reneged on that promise. We just need to live our values and not be so two-faced. Either the Statue of Liberty does mean something and we're a compassionate people of faith, or we're going to say money matters, and we're too cheap to do the right thing. That seems to me what it's all about. Yeah, it's going to be costly, it's going to be painful, it's not going to be easy, but again, are we different? Are we Americans? Are we special?
I used to think so, David, but now I'm listening to people talk, and 3 congressmen who have to look at a kid in the eye before they realize they're in trouble. I think that people don't have the compassion that they claim, and don't have the religion that they claim either.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. And then for those folks that do reach out and help, as I understand it from what I've read and so forth, and some of the people I've talked to, it's a very powerful spiritual feeling for them. It's almost like they're practicing their beliefs in their Christianity, and the good feeling and the pride that comes from that. It's supposed to be and is a very, very meaningful experience for the few of our neighbors who are willing to do that. And we have to salute them, but more of us need to step up and I guess not be hypocritical is what it gets down to. We're making all kinds of excuses. It still amazes me how we're unwilling to go after the employer and punish the employer sufficiently. That would have a big impact. And these people are coming here. Their employers abuse them, mistreat them. They work extremely hard many times for these employers. Yet the only label, we don't want to put a hard worker on them. We don't want to put the label that these are people coming to help their families back in these poor countries. Illegal, illegal, illegal is all we talk about. And that label, but we can't see through that or beyond that, which is we have blinders on.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, David. Take care.
Thank you very much.
We were talking about the U.S.-Mexico border and children coming into the U.S. There is an influx of children this year. Still border crossings. The trend continues to go downward.
By the way, David mentioned the ship full of Jewish people from Germany that we refused. They were sent back and killed.
1-800-795-9565 is the open phone. That's the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Lenape Solar email in basket is open on the market, WKOK.com. What do you think about this? Is there a faith aspect to this? Joe McGranahan, we talked to him yesterday. He said absolutely not. It's not a faith issue. This is a border, geography, governmental, civic-related issue. But many people, including David, alluded to the fact that your Christian faith or your religious faith, your faith in God, and your true interest in doing what the Spirit asks you to do.
Or simple, just humanity. To heck with faith.
It's not a border problem, it's a people problem?
It's a people problem.
Children issue, all right.
Yeah, children particularly.
795-9565. What's your opinion on this? 10 minutes of open phones remain. 1-800-795-9565. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Hello, this is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know that through energy savings of almost $5 million per year, our customers are saving the environment the equivalent of over 98 million miles of driving and eliminating the annual carbon dioxide emissions of over 5,600 homes each year? Do you want to know how to be a part of these amazing numbers? Call us at 286-1496 or visit us online at Facebook or lenapesolar.com today and find out more about our exclusive Buy American partners for solar energy and energy-efficient lighting upgrades.
Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
Shred that guitar.
This is music, baby.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Money for nothing and the chicks are free.
Is that true? That's radio, baby.
I have no idea. Never been a musician all my life.
1-800-795-9565. We've had a wide range of topics today. We talked about education and local school districts that have multi-trillion-dollar reserve funds as they stick it to the taxpayer to their own benefit. And we've also talked about the border crossings. We also had a famous quote that came up: you don't need an insurance policy against maintenance expenses if you rent. And nothing can make Art Bowen bristle more than misstatements about real estate transactions or rentals. Art, thank you so much for calling in. You're on the mark.
Good morning.
Hi there, Art.
Good morning. One of the things regarding rent versus buy, if you go onto the BowenAgency.com website and look at the rent versus buy calculator, it'll give you some good information. But the other thing is, if a tenant rents all their life and they live to be 90, they can have a mortgage paid off at 50 or 60, and they have 30 more years they're going to pay rent. The landlords are going to increase the rent to cover the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance. So it is a good idea to buy versus rent.
Well, but also if you rent, you can move around. If you want to, want to upsize, downsize, you just give notice and change places.
Oh yes, but you just never build the equity.
Right.
And the equity, Art, seems to me to be an awfully important part of keeping a family together for as long as you possibly can into the future.
No, I agree.
That's kind of what I looked at.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who, about on average, 35% of the population is going to rent it, and some people will never buy for various reasons. But the advantages for rent versus buy, certainly buying outweighs renting.
Okay.
Financially, says the man who sells real estate.
Yeah.
Well, and I should clarify when
we handle property management too. We handle a couple hundred units, so we see that side and we understand that side.
When Dave Ramsey does say about renting, one of the things he's talking about is renting till you have enough money so you can put the down payment on to buy properly. I didn't add that in my comment when I was referring to the show.
Well, I listen to Dave Ramsey. He's very good.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, and come back and visit us. We'd love to have you back in the studio, Art.
I need to come in. I was going to call you for the Heart Walk.
Oh, okay. Well, On the Marks are pretty open next week. I'll send you a note with some possible dates.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is Art.
Hey, thanks a lot, Art.
Okay.
Good to hear Art's voice.
Former owner of the Bowen Agency Realtors.
That's true, but still very much a real estate agent and
very
a darn good one, yeah.
Extremely knowledgeable and an occasional guest on our On the Mark program. You're listening to On the Mark. We had an open phone day today. The last note left here is Than, you asked Kevin if he would send Daniel over the border for a better place to live. Why wouldn't he just bring the whole family?
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense if you can afford it. Imagine yourself being able to not afford anything. All you can afford is $50 to give your kid to get the heck out of town. It's going to be tough to move the whole family. Probably several children, probably a job that holds you there with no promise of a job here, and adults coming to the border don't get the same friendly response that children do. Oh, yeah. Neither do the children, but we should be doing that.
All right. And, well, I think part of that is if you would listen to people who are informed on this trek that kids would take from Guatemala or Honduras through Mexico, hitchhiking and riding on trains, and very, very difficult passage, very, very dangerous. Few make it without incident. Some end up dead and don't make it because of gangs and crimes that occur along the way, and just the inherent danger of hopping a train illegally. You know, sometimes there's dangers associated with that. So it isn't just like here. If you want to send your kid to Harrisburg, you put them on the bus and you hope somebody is safe to pick them up at the other end of the process. There you kind of just spin them into the world, and the world churns violently there.
Think Underground Railroad. Back in the day of the slaves escaping from the South and trying to head north into freedom, a lot of them were unaccompanied young people because the adults couldn't get away, but they could sneak their kids out. You should take care of your kids. In the country that can't take care of the children of the world is not living up to what I always thought the United States should be standing for.
Should we have a stronger border, I think, is just a slight factor in this conversation. You know, we think of terrorists or others who can get in. Of course, if you build a super secure border and a fence that illegal entrants couldn't make it into the U.S., then the question arises, would not a smart terrorist just use some other method to get into the U.S.?
Oh, yeah, it's a better mousetrap. And another thing, they were trying to put fences along the... Governor Perry was putting fences along the Rio Grande. They can only do it on our side, obviously, because the Mexicans are on the other side. The ranchers there need the cows to be able to get to the water. Huge, huge herds of cows would be kept away. So Perry said, okay, a fence isn't a good idea. It's not as easy as people seem to try to think that it is.
1-800-795-9565 is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, so we always invite you to use that throughout the program to get through. Thank you for coming in, my friend. Very glad to see you.
Well, glad to see you too, Mark, and it was wonderful to be here. I will see you next Wednesday, I suspect.
If not sooner. Groninger Insurance toll-free line is always 1-800-795-9565. We thank everybody for using that. Lenape Solar email in basket is that email on the mark at WKOK.com. You're welcome to send us a note before tomorrow morning, and we'll read it on the air as soon as we can tomorrow. On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Homeless Wharf. And now the 24-hour archive of the show gets posted at WKOK.com. We invite you to check that out. Coming up in the news, again, another plane crash, this time Taiwan. Over 50 deaths reported there. And let's see, what else do we know? Do we know who's going to be on the Steve Jones show today or the Dan Patrick show? So
I'd just like to recommend that everybody who is worried about these children coming across the border take an empathy pill.
Tony Dungy's on the Dan Patrick show today, very much at the center of a controversy. So we invite folks to check that out. There'll be a full recap coming up. Kevin Herr was the engineer, and this is WKOK Sunbury.